The Alldus podcast is brought to you by Alldus International, supplying your expert AI and digital transformation staffing needs across the US and Europe. Today, you are listening to our ServiceNow series, where we interview the best and brightest of the industry to share their story, advice, and views on the exciting world of ServiceNow and digital transformation.
Hello everybody, it's Mark Kelly here, Chief Customer Officer at Alldus International. Hope you're doing really well wherever you are. You're listening to the Alldus podcast, part of our ServiceNow podcast series, and I'm very happy to welcome Pedro Soto. Pedro is County Manager at the Cloud People. Pedro, thank you so much for being a guest on our show today.
Hey, Mark, thanks. I'm really excited to be here and share some ideas of our experience that might be of some service and help to folks out there working in this wonderful ServiceNow ecosystem.
Brilliant. Pedro, tell me a little about your journey and how you got into the world of ServiceNow.
So I started about 10 years ago when I first came into the ITSM world, and it wasn't with ServiceNow, it was actually with HP Service Manager around analytics. But the company I was with then, about 5 years ago, made a pivot. They sort of saw the handwriting on the wall and what was happening with HP Service Manager, which was then the dominant service management platform, and ServiceNow was becoming the dominant ServiceNow platform. And so for 5 years, I have been, leading team here in the US, helping ServiceNow clients leverage the platform, specifically in the analytics area, performance analytics, reporting, artificial intelligence, that kind of stuff.
So when you look at your day-to-day role in the Cloud People, can you go into a little bit more about what your roles and responsibilities involves and how you're helping customers?
Sure. So you could see it in three general areas of activity. As country manager, setting the strategic direction of our group for the US, also for the Americas, but primarily the US, right? That's where most of the action is. And so that involves business development, talking frequently, daily, with ServiceNow platform owners, CIOs, lead architects, folks who are wrestling with the challenges of making the most from the platform, right? The second one is helping our delivery team stay on track and, that whole daily delivery part. And then the third one is keeping our eyes and ears open for what are the trends, what are the things that are really demanding a lot of energy, focus, effort out there to, again, make the most of this investment that's made in the ServiceNow platform to better serve organizations from the IT department.
When you look at some of the macro trends driving digital transformation in your sector, your kind of area, specialization, where do you see that going at the moment?
One thing that I didn't expect that I was very much focused on ITSM processes and how our analytics can help clients. But over the last 18 months, what has surged is this focus, interest in the CMDB, in the configuration management database. And I've spent so much time working on that and really talking to so many IT leaders in their organizations. There's a realization that has finally landed in the consciousness of the ServiceNow ecosystem, and it keeps expanding, that you can do digital transformation. And if you do not address your CMDB, make it robust, put in the governance processes that can maintain it robust so that you can then extend it to adopt the CSDM framework, the Common Service Data Model framework that's been rolled out by ServiceNow, led by Mark Bachman. Your digitization and your digital transformation, it's going to be insufficient. And there are three reasons why I've sort of I know our brain works in threes really well. It's really due to the speed of change in the environment, driven by so many things: COVID, recession, changing customer demands, speed of change, speed of competition's ability to respond to the change, right? So your organization, your company is they don't live in a vacuum, right? They have peers that are also trying to serve your market, similar markets, and they're using AI, ML, and all the tools at their disposal to respond to the changes in the environment. And then the last one is the speed of data, not just the speed of data flowing back and forth, but growing, right? Throwing artificial intelligence, the ML, and if you don't have a robust CMDB, the chaos is just going to overwhelm you. Now, there's a fundamental question. Well, why is the CMDB so important? Because it provides the connection between all the disparate parts in the IT environment, in the IT landscape, not only internally to itself, but then also externally to the parts of the business, the people that actually deliver the services to the end environment, to the end customer. And they're the ones that are not only delivering services, but they're capturing the signals of what's going on in the environment. And if there's this connection between those worlds, you can imagine how much can be dropped in data and useful signals to respond to the changes, to get it right. It's almost like if you think, you know, when human beings are in stress, their brain is fragmented and the signals that come in don't get processed properly. Hence, you see human beings that are in stress are not as productive, as responsive as human beings who are not in stress, are centered, are grounded, are well cohesive and coherent. It's sort of like a similar thing with the IT organization and the business. And the CMDB is what facilitates that connectivity so that the organization itself is not in chronic stress and survival.
I love that example. I can
Yeah.
see that. We got a visualization of that now, and I can relate to that myself personally, as I'm sure a lot of leaders and stakeholders can do that as well. Why do you believe that ServiceNow is the platform of choice?
The the vision that they had of not just doing ticketing well, but becoming the connective tissue between all the other um, technologies that are necessary in an organization. You're not going to replace Oracle. You're not going to replace SAP. You're not going to replace Workday. These amazing technologies that have really become milestones in all these different domains, but they need to be connected. And I believe that's really where ServiceNow has um, become the platform of platforms. It might sound like a marketing slogan, but behind it is real substance related to that intention, that
What
aspiration.
what's giving you most excitement now about the platform, and why is it giving you a lot of energy?
Um, so I get back to this CMDB thing challenge because you have these amazing improvements and advancements, right? So you have the AI, the ML, the predictive intelligence, the new things that are being rolled out on the platform. And it all has to be brought together in a way that it can really add greater value, as they say, than the sum of its individual parts. And that's where that CSDM framework, that common service data model, and it's really interesting, right? Words mean things. So CMDB is configuration management database. Historically, that's what it's been, and that's what it's been thought of. Okay, CI, configuration items. Now there comes this new framework, and it's called the common service data model. So the CMDB is also a data model, right? It's a whole data structure. The CSDM data model is a data model, but the central word there is service. So it's not thingy oriented, it's service oriented. Now, the thingy still has to be there, the configuration item, all the tens and hundreds of thousands of thingies that IT manages, but now it's being giving a context and a framework that's oriented towards what the essence of things are to serve, right? Why does anybody start a company? Because they have an interest in the particular thing and they want to serve others. So this amazing technology now that's now oriented towards service has a data model that underpins it and gives it context. It's super powerful. So all those other technologies, the artificial intelligence, the virtual agent, the new service portal, all these amazing innovations that keep rolling out, this CMDB thing that, to be sincere, between 80 and 85%, perhaps more, of ServiceNow customers is in an adequate state to really serve the organization the way it should be. There's an opportunity there to go get it right with the CSDM model, and the tools are out there. It's not a technology problem. It's a governance problem. It's a people problem.
Yeah. So when we look at this, you've given a really good overview there. Tell us about some of the impact it's had within your business, helping customers, and the nitty-gritty, the better, because we all love novice examples.
Sure. Here's a real nitty-gritty without naming names. You have an outage. All right. So here you're at IT and everybody looks to you to provide the technology that facilitates the service to employees, which eventually facilitates service to clients. And you have an application and an outage occurs. Many times the outages occur because of a change request and something got changed that nobody could really understand, foresee. Why? Because the things, the technologies, the environments that were part of that change, there wasn't a clear mapping of relationships between the things. And so, poop, and then you've got millions of people affected without cell phone service. There's an example, right? Imagine if you are able to have those relationships between all those elements in the environment properly mapped out, then you can use artificial intelligence and machine learning to manage these amazingly complex changes that can occur. But if they're not connected, it's going to happen. You're going to miss it. That's one. A second one has to do with security. CISOs or CISOs, depending on how you want to say, but your chief information security officers, they are one of the most interested parties and constituencies in this drive to make the CNDB the way what it should be, what it was intended to be, which can now be done with the CSDM model. Why? Because if you don't have a clear visibility of what is in your environment and how it touches the rest of the organization and how it is touched from the outside or the inside, you have huge risk, huge gaps and vulnerabilities. And so, yeah, that's where we see a lot of interest coming from.
So I think you got the importance of being connected.
Yep.
And then everybody talks about security. Whatever you're doing, it's security. So those at that cornerstone and foundation is just so important. And I just think if people can listen to those examples and just let them resonate with you, it's a really strong foundation to be as well. So it's really good. Can you share maybe some key learns or advice to CIOs embarking on a transformation initiative?
Yeah, absolutely. So, number one, be clear on the status of your configuration management database. Do you have the analytics that give you visibility into anything you need to see about it and drill down so that you can very quickly, literally within seconds, be able to identify, hey, something went down. Who is it affecting? Who is it impacting? And something we didn't mention that's really important for CIOs is the relationship with the CFO. When you have a resilient, healthy CMDB and you do a few things properly, you have financial visibility and financial transparency from IT to the finance group. That's huge. That's a big challenge, not just in ServiceNow circles, in every IT organization, the relationship between IT and finance. And the truth is that it's all happening in the IT environment, but it's very difficult to relate it to the financial impact it has. When you have a resilient CMDB, you have that. You can communicate that.
And with most CIOs reporting into the CFO, you need to justify and keep building your case for further investment. Unfortunately, CIOs, they're not sitting on the main board. It's actually statistically dropping down for a variety of different reasons. So we need to have ROI. And I love the way you say, who is it impacting? Because that
Yeah,
should be our first
exactly.
question. Our first question, who
Yeah.
is it? Who is it impacting as well?
Yes.
Tell me, what's next for the platform? As it pertains to your industry, or or mentioned topic specialization.
Yeah. Wow, that's a big question. I think it's very, very infused with where artificial intelligence will be applied and how it's applied, right? Because in a world where service is the defining, really, truly the defining characteristic between organizations. And right, because we go somewhere and we get poor service, what would it take to go back to that organization? If we find especially another organization similar that gives us good service, we're never going to go back to that organization that gave us bad service, right? So when you have a service orientation and you have all these technologies coming through, I think AI and ML is just going to be critical because it's going to enable human beings to focus on what they're able to do, on the impact they can have to deliver service. And so IT is delivering service to the middle office, who's delivering service to the front office to deliver service to the clients. And that chain, what AI and machine learning will bring in the future will be amazing. But you have to have the foundations in place, right? Because if you attach a rocket ship, a rocket engine on a Yugo, you're going to tear it up, right? So you need to have a rocket engine with rocket fuel like AI in a structure that can withstand the demands and the forces that are bearing upon it from that. And that's where your connectedness, which is the CMDB with the CSDM model, prepares your structure to be able to bear the forces of advancements in the platform and the demands from the environment, from customers, from competitors, from your employees.
And one of our previous guests had posed a question to you, advice to your younger self if you were going to go on this journey again.
So the advice I'd give to my younger self is find and focus on what truly matters. So, right, because there are so many things going on, so many changes, to the ServiceNow platform. So find and focus on what's driving the major impact and what's calling for the major impact, and find a way to respond appropriately in the context and the relationship of your role. If you're a CIO, if you're a provider, if you're a vendor, if you're a platform manager, once you find and focus on the key things, find your response to them. And I think it'll be fun, it'll be an adventure, and you'll have success.
Brilliant. I like that one. And your next question for our upcoming guest, what is it?
My next question for our upcoming guest would be the following. what approaches are you, and it's actually related to what I just said, but it's really what approaches are you aware of that help IT leverage this amazing platform and equip the organization to thrive, not just survive, but to thrive in this amazing world of change, of technology advancements, of greater demands coming from the environment. So what approaches are you aware of that help your IT organization leverage this platform to be more resilient and help the larger business thrive?
That's a great question. I can see people staying up all night already on that question, as many people must do. You've been listening to the Alldus podcast, part of our ServiceNow series. I've had the pleasure of speaking to Pedro Soto, country manager at the Cloud People, and we've been talking about Pedro's journey to now, some of the work that he's been doing with ServiceNow platform, how he's helping his customers. And we talked a little bit about the importance of getting your CMDB right, the importance of understanding impact to people and how we can actually look to solve it if there's any challenges, taking stakeholders on that journey, helping on strategic implementation. And we've heard a little bit of advice for his younger self and looking at how we can utilize the platform to the next generation and what's coming down the track with possibly with AI and some of those acquisitions that were made in 2021. Pedro, thank you so much for your time today.
Hey, thanks, Mark. Really enjoyed it.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Alldus podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. We are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and any Android podcast of choice. You can also head over to our website, www.alldus.com, to listen to more podcasts, view our open roles, and stay up to date with industry news. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned for more great episodes coming very soon.